Good evening. Welcome to the 5-Minute News Hour. I'm Brian Gartland, and this is a dance shoe. Good evening, America, and welcome to the 5-Minute News Hour. I'm Brian Gartland. Tonight's top story. Chinese political prisoner Chen Guangcheng and his family have had a change of heart about his staying in his native country to continue the fight for human rights. Chen, who is currently in sole custody of Chinese officials, said today that his wish is to leave the country with Secretary of State Hillary Clinton on her plane. Said Clinton, "Motherfucker, if you don't be cool, none of us is leaving. You think I can afford jet fuel? Mm-mm." Newly declassified documents obtained during last year's Navy SEAL raid of Osama bin Laden's compound reveal some of his frustrations with factions inside of Al-Qaeda. Growing discontent with their handling of the media and killing of Muslims made the OG of jihad himself spend his last few days wrapped in a blanket watching pornos and news reports of himself. Letters from lieutenants describe him as having a real Lohanny type vibe. Former Speaker of the House Newt Gingrich officially ended his presidential campaign yesterday, telling a crowd of supporters, nope, more butt support, I'm falling, before telling a crowd of gathered followers that it's okay, the timing makes perfect sense. You see, on the moon, it's 6 weeks ago. The Reverend Billy Graham has entered the debate on gay marriage, saying in a press release today, "I've lived long enough to know that those who keep faith in Jesus Christ in their hearts, as well as love for their fellow man, will be welcomed as heroes in the kingdom of heaven. It is not for us to judge our brothers or our sisters." I'm just fucking with you. He said it should be constitutionally banned, and then without a hint of irony or guilt, took millions and millions of dollars from people below the poverty line. An outbreak of bacteria in cantaloupe, which led to nearly 36 deaths last year, was easily avoidable, a new report shows. The cantaloupe, which contained the deadly bacteria Listeria, would not have harmed anyone if they had just eaten honeydew or watermelon like a real American. Actor Charlie Sheen is suing a New York City strip club in order to stop the club from using his name to moniker the VIP room in their club. Said Charlie Sheen, "I bet nobody would have bet on that a year ago." Adding, "I bet nobody would have bet on me being alive a year ago. But guess what? I don't have to work on that shitty show again, and my new show is gonna make millions of dollars. So, who's crazy now? Still me? I'm perfectly okay with that." Former D.C. Councilman Harry Thomas Jr. was sentenced to 38 months in prison today for stealing more than $35,000 of taxpayer money designated for youth sports programs. Said Thomas, "There is no excuse for the poor decisions I made. What I did was wrong." Adding, "Nobody better make a goddamn Clay Davis joke about this. I mean, shit." Added former Illinois Governor Rod Blagojevich, "Bush League. Call me when you're in the majors, dude." David Koch of the Koch brothers, prominent supporters of conservative causes, has donated $35 million to the Museum of Natural History for a new dinosaur wing. Koch, a huge financial backer of conservative candidates and institutions such as the Metropolitan Museum of Art, the American Ballet Theater, and Lincoln Center, loves making scientists and artists give begrudging yet sincere thanks. It really gets him off.
Hey everybody, it's time for sports!
Legendary and much-loved former NFL linebacker Junior Seau was found dead in his home yesterday of an apparent suicide. And there's nothing funny about that. But Boston University wants his brain. So, as long as Seau and Stein Monster is performing Puttin' on the Ritz with Doug Flutie at next year's Super Bowl halftime show, it will have all ended in good things. Boston University has requested the brain after questions about post-concussion syndrome have been linked to former NFL player suicides. Questions of mental health of former players and the liability of the NFL has been put in the spotlight recently, but has been a part of personal dialogue between football veterans for decades, perhaps summed up best and most eloquently by former player Alex Karras when he famously summated, "Mongo only pawn in game of life." And our final story this evening. A system glitch in Auburn, California called 1,200 people to the small courthouse for jury duty on the same day, creating a massive traffic jam on Interstate 80. The story can be summed up perfectly in this word-for-word quote from Sacramento CBS 13. "I don't want to say a quarter of a mile, but it was close to that," a jurist named Ralph said. Added Ralph, "My doctor says I wouldn't have so many nosebleeds if I kept my finger out of there." For all of me at the 5-Minute News Hour, I'd like to thank you for tuning in. Have a good night and a great night.